The man, the legend, the king of rock and roll. Hey everyone, it's Don G. Corleone here, and I'm here with a brand new movie review, and this review is going to be for a film that came out last month. This is for a film that came out the same weekend as The Black Phone. Is directed by a divisive filmmaker, and is another biography about a famous musician. And that film is going to be for none other than 2022's Elvis. A film that came out on June 24th. I finally saw this week. Yesterday. But before I get into details, what is this film about? Well, Elvis, like you'd expect, follows the story of infamous rock and roll star Elvis Presley, seen through the eyes of his controversial manager, Colonel Tom Parker. The film explores Elvis Presley's highs and lows, and the many challenges and controversies he received throughout his career. So yeah, how was this film made? Well, the project was first announced around April 2014, a year after Baz Lurhmann had directed and released The Great Gatsby. He had entered negotiations to direct this film with Kelly Marcel writing the script. Eventually, no further development would go on to be announced all the way until 2019, when Tom Hanks was cast in the role as Colonel Tom Parker. Lurhmann was set as director, and also replaced Marcel as screenwriter with Sam Ronfell and Craig Pierce. In July, the frontrunners for the role of Presley were Angela Court, Miles Teller, Austin Butler, Aaron Taylor Johnson, and Harry Styles, and Butler eventually won the role. After impressing Lurhmann with an audition tape of himself singing Unchained Melody, Lurhmann had revealed in an interview with Entertainment Weekly that he had got a call from actor-director Denzel Washington recommending Butler. Then in October, Olivia DeJonge was cast to play Priscilla Presley, Maggie Gyllenhaal, Rufus Sewell were cast as Gladys and Vernon Presley in February 2020, but they were replaced in the film by Helen Thompson and Richard Roxburgh, respectively, with Yola cast as Sister Rosetta Tharpe. However, Delaney would also face some problems because Tom Hanks and his wife both got COVID during filming, like we all know. But then the filming resumed after they recovered, but after the movie was filmed, Elvis premiered at the Cannes Film Festival on May 25th, 2022, and was released theatrically by Warner Bros. Pictures in Australia a few weeks ago on June 23rd, 2022, last month, and in the United States on June 24th. So far, the movie's grossed over $155 million worldwide and received some positive reviews from critics, with musical sequences and Butler's performance garnering widespread acclaim. So, now when it comes to me, I had been meaning to see this film for a few weeks now. Before I get into details, I will say that I'm not a big fan of Baz Luhrmann or his directing style. Like, apparently many people did not like his Romeo and Juliet adaptation. I never saw it, but from what I've heard, I'm not missing much. Don't really care to watch Moulin Rouge. And his only film I've seen was The Great Gatsby. And I think The Great Gatsby wasn't terrible, but not great, just mediocre at best. But Tobey Maguire and Leonardo DiCaprio had some good chemistry performances in that movie, I will say. Now with this film, on the other hand, I actually wanted to see it because I love Elvis Presley's music and he was one of my favorite childhood artists. Rest in peace to him too. So I saw the film last night, and what did I think of it? Well, it's not a masterpiece that I overly enjoyed, but I think it was the best and most watchable of Luhrmann's films for sure. Elvis has the Baz Luhrmann brand all over it, as it's bound to see Baz wrote the story as well as directed and produced the movie, Whether that's a good thing or not, not so sure, but the top marks for this choice of Austin Butler to play the title role of Elvis Presley. Austin Butler had pretty big shoes to fill, and Elvis fans will not be disappointed as he portrays the iconic singer over more than 20 years of his life, covering the 50s, 60s, and 70s eras from his childhood and meteoric rise to stardom to his long, slow decline. The first and most important department in the biographical dramas is the acting unit. Everyone has to look like the real characters and should be comfortable with the transformations. What Austin Butler does on screen is nothing but magic, without any doubt. Elvis is probably his best performance and so far, and probably will remain one of the best and most memorable ones for sure of his career. Every frame, expression, and dance step he makes literally reminds you of Elvis Presley. He's that close, like supporting him is none other than one of the best actors of his generation, Mr. Tom Hanks, who plays Colonel Tom Parker. It's kind of weird to say this, but I did kind of like the idea that Elvis' story is told by a sort of antagonist and not the protagonist. Like, Hanks got quite a changeover in his looks and voice for the character, and he's just superb. Elvis's parents played by Helen Thompson and Richard Roxburgh, they have a few good scenes as well. And Olivia DeJohn looks pretty gorgeous as his wife Priscilla Presley. Though her performance doesn't really show up over the heavy makeup, even though that was really mandatory. The second and third most important things about a biopic are production design and technical aspects. Elvis looks lavish though, but it has a few glitches that appear in the beginning with the art design. In the technical aspects, we cover the loss, and the music is foot tapping, and so is the background score. You can't expect anything less in this department, and Elliot Wheeler gives you what you want. Manny Walker moves the camera slowly and captures many great frames, and the editing boosts the final impact with color and black and white, mixed transitions, and footage-like scenes. There are certainly times in which Baz Lurhmann's Elvis is an engaging, entertaining biopic of rock and roll's biggest star. The performance numbers are often incredible, and Austin Butler inhabits all aspects and ages of the lead role adaptly. Unfortunately, Lurhmann's, let's say, unique style of filmmaking can't quite get out of its way long enough, especially in the early goings for this to be this top-notch flick. Perhaps the biggest drawback for me was the style of filmmaking. The opening 30 to 4 minutes, I will admit, I thought were way too chaotic. The non-linear storytelling made the opening act feel unnecessarily messy. Once things were unraveled and we started progressing through Elvis's life chronologically, things somehow felt drawn out yet fleeting at the same time. I think Lurman missed the mark on that one a bit. Another element to the film that kind of feels like a missed opportunity is the key relationship and romance between Presley and Priscilla. With little build-up and even less explanation once Priscilla comes onto the scene, it's kind of as if Lurman was unsure of how he would give the time to the two Presleys, as his heart and soul was set on shining the spotlight on Elvis and the Colonel, missing some emotional payoffs in his feature that still manages to knock out of the park in the final stretches where Butler's performance takes center stage in a big way, with the real sadness of Presley's demise comes to the forefront. And now when it comes to Tom Hanks' character, I like how kind of the film is narrated through his character's perspective, but his characters were my other gripes for the film arm. I didn't necessarily dislike Tom Parker, but I feel like they kind of made him a bit too cartoonish at times. I mean, that's kind of I get this is one of Tom Hanks' first times playing a villain, since he's usually never known to play antagonists. But a good chunk of the film kind of focuses on his character, and I'm completely okay with that considering how involved the Colonel was with Elvis' career, but his portrayal seemed a little childish at times. I mean, they could have tried to make him a little more serious, but... And then as soon as Elvis Presley enters the picture, everything really comes together. I thought it would be bored because I know... bored with this because it's kind of a Baz Luhrmann film. Not a big fan of his stuff, and not a big fan of too many musical biography films, except for like Walk the Line and Rocket Man. Those I did like. But this film proved me wrong. Baz Luhrmann doesn't really play that game. He's recreated everything so that the stuff you know by heart becomes a bolt of lightning from the blue. You see Elvis discovering the music, discovering himself in ways that nobody ever imagined before, and his sequences about the 68 comeback special makes you see his brilliance all over again. Even if you grew up watching that TV show and know every number by heart. And especially... a special shout out to Kirk and Spock for standing guard in the hallway at NBC while Elvis takes care of business and stuff. And of course, there's one other thing I also should mention. The cinematography was fantastic. The look, feel, and soundtrack was of course brilliant. The casting was perfection as Hanks and Butler delivered captivating performances. It was entertaining to observe a struggle with direction at times and why things ended up in the way they did. Nevertheless, it's a worthwhile depiction of the life of an icon, just with some of the darkness kept in the dark. And I will say, there were some pretty tear-inducing moments near the end of the film, like, especially the Elvis's final performance in the end. I'm not going to say much about it, but Elvis's final performance did bring a few tears to my eyes. A lot of scenes in the end kind of brought a few tears to my eyes too, and like this film was quite depressing. A lot of scenes. Yeah, like, I mean, I kind of knew what I was going to expect because, well, expect sometimes, but man, they actually really did it well with the emotional stuff in this, I have to say. So, yeah, I think that's kind of my review for Elvis. So, anyways, Elvis is not bad for a Baz Lurhmann film, but certainly not one of the best movies this year. I have seen way better music artist biography films for sure, like I've already said. Walk the Line and Rocketman were prime examples of better movies than this. But this film would have to be the best film Baz Luhrmann's done. Especially for someone who's never really liked his style of filmmaking or has never really liked his films. This is probably my favorite one he's done. Anyway, that's it for my review of Elvis, and if you're wondering how I'm going to rank Elvis, here's how I'm going to rank this movie. So overall, if you are keen on seeing the story of one of the best music artists of all time be adapted to the big screen, then I recommend you wait for the streaming because it's not something that's overly worth seeing in theaters. And if you're wondering how I'm going to rank Elvis, I'm going to give Elvis a 7.5 out of 10. And there we go. That's it for my review for Elvis. There's not really a lot of films coming out this month, well, except for Nope. So, yeah, this summer's been kind of slow for new releases. I mean, a lot of the delayed stuff came out last year, so I guess it kind of makes sense that summer's kind of a bit slow for films. I mean, all the delayed releases are now released. So, hasn't really been a lot to see this month, or this summer. But, yeah, until then, that'll be it for this review. Thank y'all for watching, and if you like this and want to see more, then don't forget to like and subscribe to Don G. Corleone.